This is WBSM On Demand.
Good morning. Good morning. It's a great day to buy a gun. Head over to Shooting Supply. They have over 200 Smith & Wesson revolvers in stock, and they have all of those weapons have a rebate from Smith & Wesson of up to $150. They start at just $399 after the rebate. So head over to Shooting Supply. If you've never been to Shooting Supply, it's worth taking a ride over. If you're a gun owner or if you're interested in becoming a gun owner, which you should be, they're right on State Road, Route 6 to you and me in Westport. Okay, very easy to find. Shooting Supply. Now, they have an early Black Friday deal on 9mm ammo, just $12.99 a box, okay? Now, if you don't have a gun license, you need to get one, all right? Women especially. So they have a training class at Shooting Supply. The next training class is November 19th. Stop by the shop and see Dawn, D-A-W-N, to sign up. Dawn, is very good at helping women matriculate into the gun-owning culture, the protection culture. Protect yourself. So go to shootingsupply.com to sign up for the preferred customer list and get the best sales and specials in the area delivered right to your inbox, including their great Black Friday specials. So head over to shootingsupply.com. We are now joined in studio by Leo Choquette. Good morning, Ward 1 City Councilor Leo Choquette. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Chris.
Thank you for the donuts.
Yeah, I was just in the neighborhood doing an errand for my wife this morning, and she said, hey, you should go visit your friends over at the radio station and make sure you bring some donuts.
It's funny, you were on the honey-do list, but you brought Dunkin' Donuts.
Well,
the honey-do list. Honey-do this, honey-do that. You get it.
There you go. That's pretty good.
Right? You're doing an errand for your wife is the honey-do list.
Yep.
And your wife's a sweetheart, so we're glad you are helping her out. Or doing what you're supposed to do, quite frankly. So, Leo, you've been doing what you're supposed to do, representing Ward 1. You were one of the first guys to really call attention to the problems in the elections office. I want to congratulate you on a flawless election.
Oh, well, thank you. I really can't take any credit for anything. It's all to Manny DeBrito and his people. I knew they were going to get it right this time, and like I told Manny in a private text, thank you, Manny, for crushing it and doing an exceptional job.
We always knew he had the ability to do it. I endorsed the guy for the job. I was always behind him. I knew he could do the job, and for whatever reason, it got away from him a couple times. But he's obviously on target, and I'm really proud of it because I've got a video of me on YouTube recommending him to Jack Spillane and discussing it and totally in favor of Manny DeBrito. So I'm really proud that he jammed it. He got it right.
Yep. And this was, like you said, the biggest election probably in how long? So,
right. And to go from not having ballots to having everything be flawless, because you can't screw up worse than not having ballots, right?
Well, he was very on point during the day. A lot of us were holding signs for, Jesse St. Gilles over at Campbell.
Right.
And it's funny because he came over, Manny came over with another gentleman, and they reminded us that there's a 100-foot rule.
Right.
And literally, so I appreciate the fact that they were on point with it.
Hey, look, he was a good athlete, so it didn't surprise me that he could rise to the occasion. You don't become a good athlete without practice, and so practice and training, and they got that right this time. So good job. So, Leo, you have voted against the Capitol Theater project, the only chance you had to, which I appreciate. And so I know you've seen the New Bedford Light article about what they're going to use that place for.
Yeah, it's... I looked at it last night. I feel like it's like a reactionary piece that they're people in my party who are very far to the left. They're scared that Donald Trump or President Trump is going to be president again. This is a location that's taxpayer funded, right? Or has a part of it that's taxpayer funded.
Millions of dollars.
Yes. So whatever it gets used for, it better be on the up and up. That's all I'm going to say, because there are a lot of folks.
But was that article really informative? I thought the New Bedford Light has done a great job across the board, but that article in particular was very informative.
Very informative. And I was blown away by the fact that President Trump won 51% of Ward 2 voters.
It's amazing. You knew he was going to do well in Ward 1, but Ward 2, he won 51% of Ward 2.
Yeah, so think about this. Arthur Hirsch, who is a great reporter, he did a piece and quoted me in it, and he was asking me about, why do you think President Trump did well in Ward 1, Precinct F last time.
Okay.
Because that was the only precinct that he won outright out of the 36 precincts. And then this time around, President Trump won by like 500 votes. He won Ward 1 overall.
Yep.
And then apparently he won Ward 2, which is a very progressive, I would even dare say the most progressive.
But that's a myth, because it's not. Yeah. Obviously, it's not.
Yeah. I mean, do you know how he did in the other wards at all?
I haven't drilled down in it, but Leo, I will tell you that you have been on the right side of the Capitol Theater project. Do you think the New Bedford taxpayers want CPC money used to fight the agenda they just elected? No, you don't.
No, they don't. I think that, I just think that the city council, when we took that vote, a lot of them had their heart in a different place than where their mind should have been. Right. And I'm not.
They were being lobbied by people who are making money on that project.
Yep. Well, absolutely.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with making money. We are capitalists after all. Yep. But the fact of the matter is these are taxpayers' dollars, and yet today's light, I don't know if they realized they were doing it, exposed exactly what the Corinne Williams and that whole left-wing group is really up to, using taxpayer money, City of New Bedford money that's been allocated by the mayor's office and by the city council, the mayor's, his appointees, millions of dollars, and they're going to use it. The illegal immigration was on the ballot. I can't believe the New Bedford city taxpayers are going to fund more illegal immigration. It's outrageous.
I don't think they're going to, but they're not going to choose to. But we'll see what happens.
Right.
We'll see what
happens. The voters have clearly spoken.
Yes, and those are the people that we serve.
Right.
They're the shareholders of the corporation. The mayor is the CEO. The city council is the board of directors.
Yep.
That's how it works. It's no different.
Leo, your clients, tell us a story. This is kind of funny. Go ahead.
So this is kind of funny. Without, getting into my personal feelings either way, I, as a financial planner, I have a lot of clients, and not necessarily just in this area, but like on the Cape and in New Hampshire and Boston, and et cetera. So some of them, just as in any other random, grouping of a large amount of people, are going to be big supporters of Vice President Harris. Right?
You don't select them by their party affiliation.
No, of course not.
You'll take one and take all, right?
And of course, a lot of them were very upset yesterday.
Of course.
And there were a lot of folks that were upset yesterday. And
there were a lot of people that were great. Actually, most Americans were happy, though.
Yep. Well, right? the popular opinion, right?
Right.
Popular vote, majority.
Won the popular vote.
Well, the people spoke either way, and you have to, whether you liked it or you don't like it, you have to move on. That's who the president is now, right?
You got to get on board.
You got to be. So anyway, I had to contact some of my clients yesterday to let them know how their accounts were doing.
Right.
And it's just, the irony was that, of course, some of these folks were very upset that, Vice President Harris did not win, but because of the outright victory, and I would say the non-contestable nature of the victory, the markets were not volatile yesterday. They were on fire.
Right.
The Russell 2000 index was, I think it closed at 6%. So just to put that into perspective, if you're invested in that Russell 2000 index and you had just say 100,000 in it, 6% of 100,000 is $6,000 that you would have made in one day. I mean, now of course things go up and down, but so I got to contact some clients who were really upset, and I said, I don't know how to explain this to you. You're probably going to feel weird, but the fact that, President Trump won by a landslide, but by a non-contestable.
It was a landslide.
Yeah, well, okay. But
it was a landslide. He brought this House, he brought the Senate. It's amazing.
Well, so the fact that that all elements of the government, the presidency, the Senate, the House, and the Supreme Court are all tied up in one party.
Right.
That the markets like non-volatile, continuous things.
Of course.
And so because of that, people yesterday who felt like yesterday was the worst day of their lives actually made a lot of money yesterday.
Right.
So that's just kind of ironic, and I just thought that was kind of funny. So.
Thank you, Leo. Thank you. He's always available for me, folks, and I do appreciate his wife telling him to drop off donuts. We love his wife. Thank you so much, folks. Stick around. We're going to take a break. If you're on hold, stay there. We'll be right back.
Take care. I think it closed at 6%. So just
the program, I'm Chris McCarthy, and that was Leo Choquette. I appreciate. He didn't have a lot of time. He has to go out and, he eats what he kills. So he's going out to kill. in sales. That's what we say. So we're going to go right back to the phones. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Yes. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Hi. Hey, speaking of, you're talking about this stuff with Kamala Harris and all that, I watched a interview a while back where she gave a speech in New Hampshire, and she was talking about when she was a young prosecutor and the DA. She was DA at a very young age, and she realized that she had the amount of authority. So if somebody made her mad, that she could bring him up on minor charges, have him arrested, thrown in jail over the weekend. And, of course, the charges be dropped later on, but she said he'd have to get a lawyer, they'd have to go to jail, it goes to jail. Sometimes they lost their job and things like that. And she bragged about that authority that she had as a prosecutor. And which brings me to the prosecutorial and judicial misconduct that was held against President Trump. Now, I think what we need is a presidential commission on judicial and prosecutorial misconduct in the judicial system, probably led by Alan Dershowitz, get a bunch of legal minds, and we need to regulate the prosecutors, regulate the judges, and not allow them to have this broad discretion to prosecute and destroy anybody's life at will.
I think you're 100% correct about that. That is a fantastic suggestion because the whole Constitution is designed to protect individuals and the states from the government. That's what it's all designed for.
Yeah. Well, she bragged about...
Oh, I saw the clip you're talking about. I absolutely saw it. I know just what you're talking about, and I was horrified, and I couldn't understand why anybody would be supporting her at that point when she said that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the same thing now. You see that Jack Smith is going to be running for cover because if President Trump fires him, he'll never be able to work for the government again.
Right.
But if he resigns, then the Democrats can bring him back again. And he was illegally appointed as a special prosecutor because all the other special prosecutors in the past had already been approved by the Senate. They were all former U.S. attorneys or something like that, except for him.
No, I appreciate that. Your phone's kind of breaking up or doing something funny. So he's 100% on point. If you haven't seen that clip before, it's worth your time. But folks, I want to bring it to, and again, open phones. If you got something about the elections that you want to talk about, it'd be great. Some of these issues that are on the table. But I do want everybody to pay attention to the New Bedford Light. The issue that's out right now, it's newbedfordlight.com. Or maybe it's a .org. I'm not sure. But anyway, New Bedford Light. If you put that into your Google machine, you'll come up with it. So they've got an article about the resistance, the illegal alien industrial complex that exists in the city of New Bedford, funded by the taxpayers of New Bedford. So what has been happening over the years is they've been using community development and community. So there's a tax, the Community Preservation Fund, okay? It's an additional property tax that people who live in New Bedford pay, okay? Now, they're in different communities, that type of tax. But in particular, the city of New Bedford has been using the money. And the city council, so it gets allocated by application process to mayoral appointees. They then review it. The CPC committee reviews it. It then has to be ratified, because it's spending of taxpayer money, by the city council. So I have put the spotlight, the corrective spotlight, on the city council. So you remember the Capitol Theater project, right? We talked about that and the funding of group homes and the funding of sober houses by the city council, right? We were on top of that. And I think we made some headway. Certainly Leo Choquette listened to the program. Certainly Sean Oliver listened to what was happening here. The Reason made their own investigation and realized, wow, this Capitol Theater project is crazy, okay? Now, when you read the New Bedford Light, you're going to look for Corinne Williams and I think it's the Community Economic Development committee, some commie name like that, right? It's not the illegal immigration industrial complex, but that's really what they are, all right? So Corinne Williams, she's gotten about, millions of dollars in state, federal, and local CPC money, okay? When you add it all together, they're looking for about $14 million from the taxpayers to fight the Trump administration on illegal immigration. And they do other things too, but it's all centered around the illegal immigration. It's the illegal immigration industrial complex. So I want you to read the New Bedford Light so you're up to speed on what's going on. Many of you know about the Capitol Theater project. If you don't know, we're going to catch you up on it. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hey, good morning, Chris.
What's happening?
So, I've been watching Ward 2 for a while. As you know, I ran for Ward 2 a while ago. We all see what's been happening in Ward 2 for the last, 15 years, I should say. Yep. And, people voted, and it's very interesting to see that Ward 2 actually supported Trump. And I believe there's a reason for that. People are fed up. They watch Do Nothing Maria Giesta sit around, basically get fatter and do nothing else in the ward. And, they've been building their little sanctuary over there for a while now. And several people have been calling that out for a while now. I think the city council is hip to it. At least I hope that they are. And they start treating it appropriately that way. Hopefully someone steps up and runs against Maria Giesta, because I don't see anything being corrected as long as she's at the realm there. I think things will just continue to be the same, when she's asleep at the switch.
Ward 2 has to have a very serious preliminary election and then settle on the strongest candidate to take on Siesta, because she is driving the city in the wrong direction. She doesn't even really do her work when she shows up. It's only to feather her own nest. You're right there, Carlos, seeing it all. You go there with New Bedford Live. You're right there in the city council chamber. How often is it her not there? But we know where she is. She's down around the corner drinking at Carmine's.
Yeah, she's leaving early to go order quesadillas from Carmine's, so her and Cheeseburger can relax and throw back a few and eat and be merry. And and the fact that they use Shane Burgo as an example for a homeless advocate, it's hilarious to me, because the man basically makes excuses that he has a full-time job and the city council is only a part-time job, and he fails to read a small 48-page report, but chooses to belittle the police with a one sentence that he finds interesting. And of course, New Bedford Light chooses to use him as an example, which I think is a poor example, because he's obviously not doing the job. He's not out there. He's not paying attention. These people are basically not doing the job, but getting the glory.
And they're getting the paycheck. No. Hey, it's not just the glory, the paycheck and the health insurance plan. I mean, there's a real financial gain to being on the city council, and we're not even talking about the other stuff.
But I think this time around, people are paying attention by the vote, and what we saw the other day. And I think people are fed up, and they see what's going on in the ward. And I think that's a message to the powers that be that, hey, we're fed up. It's time to ship up or ship out. And I hope people are paying attention and someone steps up with the caliber that can remove her from office, because New Bedford can't continue going this way. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. That's Carlos Felix from New Bedford Live. Look, I'm going to re-educate some people. Some people maybe never heard about it. Maybe there's some people in the audience from New Bedford who are just tuning in because, they want to know what happened with the election. Folks, you got a city election coming up. It's really, real candidates are getting ready right now, okay? And based on these returns, I ought to see a lot of new candidates and some candidates changing their steam, right? How do they really feel about the Capitol Theater? You've got some incumbents. Now, look, if over the years you've funded this Capitol Theater project and now you have you rethink it based on the information that's in the New Bedford Light today and what's been brought out here on this program. That's not a flip-flop, folks. That's changing your position based on new information or a realization of the new information, right? So we're going to keep talking about this because I want to attract a lot of new people to the city council. And I want to take some of the veteran city councils and maybe make them more in tune with the voters, right? With what you, the Democratic audience of this program, really want out of the city of New Bedford. Because as goes New Bedford, goes the region, right? You can't have a screwed up city and then have a prosperous Fairhaven and Dartmouth. That's just not the way it goes, right? If they're going to make illegal alienism the way of life in the city of New Bedford, then the crime is going to be impacted in the suburbs, right? If you have fortress illegal alien, right? If they turn the Capitol Theater into a fortress for illegal aliens, right? Then they're going to get their sustenance out of the suburbs, right? They're going to make, it's like they're going to make raids into Fairhaven and Dartmouth. So as goes New Bedford, goes the region. You can't make the Capitol Theater into a fortress to battle the Trump administration to protect illegal aliens, which the voters just overwhelmingly rejected. So I hope the New Bedford City Council is going to end their funding for this outrage. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning, Chris McCarthy.
What's happening, Mike Lima?
Not much, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing well. Big results. What did you think in the greater New Bedford area?
Well, that's why I called.
Yeah.
I did. What amazes me is almost 49% of the voter turnout in New Bedford. Yet we run municipal elections and we get 6 or 7%. Something is drastically wrong. And I'm going to look at all the numbers ward by ward, precinct by precinct, because I haven't had the chance to do that yet.
Right.
But, and I'm not saying anything wrong that way. I'm saying, why aren't we drawing, I don't care about 49%. Why aren't we drawing 30% or 33% for the municipal elections?
Well, I agree. Here's the thing. We pay a lot of attention to it here, but I would say that the people that have things to do, people don't get it. In other words, you're paying tax in the city of New Bedford. You don't realize maybe that, well, if you're a taxpayer, you ought to know that the city council is how the money gets there, right? You need to have quality people on the city council if you want to have a quality budget, if you want to have a quality future. The idea that the city council, led by Shane Burgo, leader of the Shanedonistas, basically stopped the business improvement district and other things like that. There's a lot of things that aren't happening in New Bedford because of that city council.
And I think better candidates, obviously, because what people need to realize, as you just said, what happens in the city affects your pocketbook just as much as what happens on the national level.
Absolutely.
If not more.
So what do we do, Mike Lima? What do we do?
Well, I've been doing this for a long time, as you well know, sir.
Right.
And I don't have any answers because we don't have the candidates that we did at one time.
Right.
You know, I go back to 95 when I ran Kelly Martin's campaign, and we came in 7th. And the 6 people ahead of us was George Rogers, Dave Alves, John Saunders, Brian Gomes, and Tom Hodgson. And Dennis Lawrence Jr. came in 6th.
Right.
Now, that's a good field.
It is, but those guys, actually, Tom Hodges is still on the scene, and so, well, actually, John Saunders is too, and Brian Gomes is still on the scene. So I just think that the way the ballot is set up may be prohibitive because you've got incumbents by alphabetical order for at large, rather than in Boston, they do a lottery system. So I do think that maybe changing the ballot, but you're not going to do any of that before the next election. What people need to do is to learn how to run a campaign. Read a book and get out and do it, right?
Chris, I'm going to end with that because I'm going to start laughing too much, and I'm going to hit a dead zone here, and I'm going to lose you.
Oh, we'll talk again, Mike Lima. Again, people need to run a campaign. Get out there and work, okay? Get out there and work. Knock on doors. It is a $50,000 a cycle job, plus health insurance, plus a pension if you can hang on for 10 years. And you get to help your community. It's a difficult job, but if you're looking for some interesting work, it's very interesting being on the city council. But we need more candidates. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning, Chris. Gilly Satfield.
Hey, Gilly, what's happening?
You know, if I just want to remind people out there what happened down at Market Basket when Scott Pemberton was there and Maria Giesta and her sister walked in and attacked him because he was going to run for Ward 2. You're going to run against my sister and everything. They forget about that?
Hoodlumism. It's crazy that they literally, and that's the kind of behavior they have on other counselors. It's hooliganism. They
intimidate the people, Chris. They intimidate the people. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. And you brought it to our attention here, and we appreciate that.
You know, and Scott's a hell of a worker, too. He'd be out there for the people all day long.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, hey, how's the donuts? When you were talking and you were eating donuts, huh?
Listen, I'm a man. I only have so much discipline. You know that.
I know that, Chris. I know that.
No, Leo's good for bringing that by.
You know, that's what I wanted to bring up. Scott Pemberton should run against her.
He absolutely should be in the mix. I do appreciate the call and remembering that, right? So there was a standoff. Poor Scott Pemberton, right? He's trying to do his shopping, and he gets confronted by Maria Giesta and other people, like a gang of them, to defending Maria's position. I don't know. And of course, look at they're funding a fortress for illegal aliens, right? And they're going to and they're using homeowners' taxpayer money to fund the illegal and alien industrial complex with a little bit for themselves. That's not completely altruistic, right? A little bit for ourselves. Folks, this program wouldn't be possible without my great sponsors, like Mac Auto Sales, 188 Rivet Street, New Bedford. They repair all makes and models. So if you need to winterize your car, and I'm sure you do, then call Mac Auto Sales and Repair, 508-565-6221. They're open weekdays, 9 to 5. If you have a foreign car that needs servicing, Mac Auto Sales specializes in foreign car servicing. Ask about their aftermarket accessories. And if you're in the market for a new-to-you car, the quality used cars available at Mac Auto Sales. Tell them Chris McCarthy sent you. Here's around. They're open for lunch and dinner. They're located right off Route 140 in East Freetown. Now, what makes the Profile Tavern so special? Well, they've got really great employees, really nice atmosphere, and excellent food. I was just there the other day. Actually, I've been there a number of times since this summer. The Profile Tavern specializes in bar pizza, right? So you can eat it in or take it home. I understand people do a great delivery business down there, rather pickup business down there at the Profile Tavern. But the barbecue is what everybody raves about. You'll find brisket, ribs, chicken, you name it. So they fire up the smokers nice and early. And the people that are cooking that food are real barbecue connoisseurs. They're working there because it gives them the opportunity to do what they love, which is cook barbecue. Head out to the Profile Tavern, try out the barbecue or the pizza, or like for me, I like the American burger. I was there the other day. I had a salad with grilled chicken on it. I mean, they have a great menu. You and your family will find lots of great option at the Profile Tavern. And if you're in the mood for beer, that's the place to go after work or whatever your schedule is. And they have beautiful cocktails as well, made by really great bartenders. So the city council should be in your focus, okay? Because there's an article in the New Bedford Light talking about how the illegal alien industrial complex, okay? People that make a good living, off of funding the importation of illegal aliens, okay? Now, not all illegal aliens are bad. We know that. And not all migrants are bad. And they're not all illegal, okay? There are a lot of people who come here legally, and those are our fellow Americans, okay? They come legally and they become citizens. But that's not what we're talking about. Don't let them confuse you. There's a lot of people who are here in our community illegally, doing illegal things. Their very presence is a crime, okay? But how do your taxpayers get into their hands? Well, we have a governor who's giving them a lot of money, right? But the New Bedford City Council is involved in this. Now, I'm going to play a clip from last year. This is Ward 3 City Councilor Sean Oliver and Leo Choquette talking about the Capitol Theater project. And why is that so important? Well, I've known about this for a long time, what that group is really up to. But you can read the New Bedford Light and see that they are fully in war, right? They're in total opposition, total rebellion, using illegal aliens against your agenda, the Trump administration. You people have just voted, and these people have gone to war, basically. Read the New Bedford Light and listen to this. This is how you understand what the New Bedford City Council has been voting for, with the exception of Leo Choquette and Sean Oliver. Everybody else on the city council has been following Maria Giesta's lead and voting for this. Millions of dollars have been funded into the Capitol Theater project.
And good evening, Jessica. How you doing? So I'm the newest guy here, and this kind of fell into my lap, and I was looking at the numbers, and I mean, $11 million for 6 low-income apartments and a storefront and a CEDC clubhouse. It seems like a kind of an awful lot of money there. So my question here is, what specific advancements have been made with the initial monies that have been given? Because it looks the same to me. I drive by there all the time, coming back from downtown after we have meetings at City Hall. And I guess I would like your opinion on, like, what stage is this project actually in on a scale of 1 to 10, with like 1 being, they haven't even broken ground. And
So
10 being...
at this point in the discussion, right, it was about the fact that the project had been stalled. Well, they're moving along over there with your taxpayers' dollars. But the true nature of what that facility is going to be used for, I thought Leo nailed it, right? CDC clubhouse, basically, and apartments. It's like they're building a fortress. Right now, they had no idea that Trump was going to come back, but that doesn't matter. They're always set up to aid illegal aliens. So, again, I think you need to contact your city councilors. Ian Abreu voted for it. Brian Gomes voted for it. Joe Lopes voted for it. Maria Giesta, she's got some major involvement with that project, right? The only 2 councilors, Ryan Pereira voted for it. The only 2 city councilors that voted no on Capitol Theater, Leo Choquette and Sean Oliver. Now, this is being funded by appointees of the mayor. And the mayor has a very close relationship with Corinne Williams, okay? Corinne Williams is really the leader of the industrial complex that we're discussing here, okay? Very talented woman, very dedicated to her agenda. It's not an agenda that I have, not an agenda that the voters of New Bedford have. That is clear, right? That is clear. Take a break and we'll be right back. Oh, that's right. Too much corruption. Too much corruption. Folks, if you live in the city of New Bedford, you need to contact your city councilor. Tell them you don't want any more funding for the Capitol Theater project. And also, right now is everybody's jockeying for who's going to be the next city council president. You should not be removed from that process. That is an internal process of the city council. But you've given your city councilors the right to vote for you, not the right to tell you what to do. In other words, you tell them what to do. You tell them what to do. You just went out and voted for Trump. Now you pick up the phone and you call your city councilors and you tell them you don't want them to vote for some left-wing lunatic to be the city council president, okay? Because right now, the city of New Bedford is deciding on who's going to be the next city council president. Now, it's not a city vote. It's a vote of the city council, all right? The men and women that you've elected to the New Bedford City Council decide their own leadership, and that's good. Now they're making a decision as to who that leader is going to be. So, you got to decide, do you want it to be Shane Burgo, leader of the Shane Donistas, right? Do you want that? Or do you want somebody else, right? Who is going to be the next president of this New Bedford City Council? This is not a passive thing. It's totally legitimate for you to pick up the phone and call Sean Oliver, or pick up the phone and call Brian Gomes, call Ian Abreu, right? Call Linda Morad. Tell them who you'd like to see them vote for, or have them explain to you who they're going to vote for and why, right? Because some of them have committed to Shane Burgo, leader of the Shane Donistas, who until he got into politics was just a kid with a high school diploma working at the dollar store, I think. Nice guy. I like him. I think he's got a lot of learning to do. Really. He's always jolly. I like him personally. And I could see having dinner with him. He's a good guest here in the studio. Certainly gets the phones going. But he's not a city council president. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Chris. How's it going?
You tell me.
Hey, don't you find it a little ironic that earlier in the hour we're talking about shutting down VFWs, and then later on in the hour you're talking about spreading the wealth amongst
the illegal aliens? It's crazy.
All that?
It's crazy.
Isn't that why Trump won in the landslide?
I would say so. People are fed up. But I wonder if they know where, in other words, just because you voted for Trump doesn't mean your job as a citizen is over.
No, I mean, what happens in the city, in our own backyards, our community, I think greatly affects us a lot more than what happens on a national level to some extent.
Totally agree with you. Of course, yes. Unless it's the draft, there's nothing more important than local government.
And that's what I'm saying. And that's a part of the thing that we need to keep in the back of our minds is that, this is our community. This is what happens in our community is what we're going to be dealing with on a day-to-day basis from here on out. And that's why I'm so against these windmills. It's you see the whales and the environmental aspect and all that. But more importantly, I'm super concerned about our fishing port.
Right.
Again, we have the number one fishing port year after year after year, and they're willing to give that up or potentially give that up on a Hail Mary pass. You know what I mean? So the intentions, I understand. It's like building something for the future. However, when you already have something that's been providing long term, it's why jeopardize that? So
I totally agree with you. And I think the Trump administration is going to do some things with offshore wind because it can't exist without federal tax credits. But yeah, I was having a conversation with someone who's not in the fishing industry, but they're a major industrialist and property owner in New Bedford. And they're saying exactly what you were just saying to me about it's crazy what's happening around here.
Yeah, and if you want to really get scared, I've never seen this ever. Look at the amount of scallop boats and fishing boats that are being auctioned off. Why is that? I've never seen that. And you scroll and you look at the amount of people that are either willingly giving up their boats or, they're being taken and they're being auctioned off. I've never seen that. And you're seeing it more and more. So,
they're restricting the amount of days at sea, and they're also importing all the Japanese scallop. Remember, that is a Biden-Harris policy to import Japanese scallops to compete against American scallops. It's amazing. We're subsidizing through our federal workforce, the ambassadorship, all that stuff, the Japanese scallop industry.
It's crazy. Anyway, keep up the good work, Chris.
Thank you, my friend. You got to reach out to your city councils, by the way, if not running for city council yourself, to tell them who you think they ought to or not vote for city council president.
I hear you.
All right, my friend.
Yeah,
Thank you.
have a good day.
You too. Thank you. There's a guy who could be on the city council, right? Property owner. Now, I don't know if he wants those headaches, but just because you voted for Donald Trump doesn't mean your role as a citizen is over. That's not enough. Now, for some of us, it's all we can do, right? But for most of us, there's something else we can do, whether it's running for the city council or looking for an appointment to somewhere, right? But get involved in your community. Only you, right, can do it. Only you can do it. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of time. But, I think it's worth it. I really do. I've done it. I wouldn't ask you to do something I haven't done. So step up, run for school committee, run for the Board of Selectmen, whatever it is. Reach out to Joanne Hodgson or Bob McConnell, Tom Hodgson. Say, hey, look, I want to be involved. I want to be involved. I want to be involved. I mean, Annie Cannavale, who's been a guest here, it's a friend of mine, head of the Republican Party, is looking for candidates, looking for activists. And she did a good job this time around, right? I mean, that seat, the Acushnet Westport seat, that is a conservative seat. I know Steve Ouellette prevailed, but that had to do with the election mix. But the majority of the votes went to a conservative candidate. Now, it just wasn't all one candidate. That's what happened. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm doing well. Barry, how are you?
I'm doing really good. I had to wake up. Did you wake up again this morning and pinch yourself?
It's amazing. It is absolutely amazing.
And again, the Democrat calling you and asking you, who's leading the Democratic Party?
I don't know who's leading the country, because Joe Biden is not, obviously can't. And his vice president, she realized America doesn't want her. Yeah, I'm not sure, Barry. Who do you think is?
I'm the confused Democrat calling Republican for advice. You can you can give me a bill for therapy whenever you want. Maybe we can go on the boat.
I was going to say, a lot of gas we've already spent on my therapy.
Yeah, but exciting time, and I think it's going to be. I think myself personally, Democrat. And I know a lot of our city councilors. By the way, it's interesting. When I was at Stonehill with all the Irish people, we had this expression that the Irish had stirring the pot.
Yes.
And boy, can you stir the pot, brother. But, it's interesting how the bookends of the city. I love Ryan Pereira, and elections have their consequences. You can ask Joe Lopes, but, you got a great guy like Leo Choquette. He's knowledgeable, a Juris Doctorate. He's in my profession. But it's interesting to see how, personally, I don't know that anybody would ever say it, but I think that a lot of these city councilors at heart have had it with the Democratic Party, like I have too. But they can't, they're precluded from saying that, obviously.
They're afraid to say it.
Well, Chris, and so why am I still a Democrat? I don't know. I mean, maybe that's a song for another day. But it's going to be interesting that Donald Trump is going to be the president for our country's 250th anniversary.
Yes.
That's going to be fantastic. And I can think of nobody better to do it because he loves his country.
It was like when Reagan was there for the Statue of Liberty and all of that stuff. I mean, look, it is going to be an amazing 4th of July. We're going to have a better Christmas because Donald Trump was elected.
Yeah, Mount Rushmore now will be celebrated again. And we're going to, the other thing, Trump's also going to see the World Cup.
Yes.
And he's also going to see the Summer Olympics. So I think our country ought